Hey, Magic fans, welcome to this episode of Penny for Your Thoughts podcast, the podcast of the Orlando Magic UK. Bit of a special one, two-parter this week. Let's start off with, though, as always, I'm joined by, first of all, Mr. Predictions himself, Geraint Jones. How you doing, mate? And congratulations on taking the crown of Orlando Magic UK prediction champion.
Thank you very much. And well, thank you. I'm probably glad the season's over, to be honest with you, because those losses started racking up, didn't they?
Mate, you're only wanting to hold on to top position, weren't you? And
that's it.
Then across to Mikey Umpa Clark. Have you got a cushion for you sitting on, mate?
I've got two I'm sat on, actually.
I want to make sure that you're above the desk so we can all see you.
Yeah, the two buns. That's right. There's plenty of cushion there, mate.
How you doing, pal?
All good, mate. All good. The season's over, so
man.
we can focus on the draft now.
Absolutely. And I will congratulate you on finishing second. Whereas, you know, I tanked properly. I'm in the great position for next season now.
You did. And in fairness, you're the only one who actually gets a prize.
Oh.
So you get a wooden spoon. So that'd be winging its way to Mansfield, mate.
You're going to get it engraved, G?
I think we should, you know.
Hey?
Love it.
And you can hang it behind you, Paul, for next season.
Mate, it will be on the wall. It will be on the wall. The wall of honour. Right, moving on. Well, we're going to be joined very shortly by someone who has 8 seasons as game analysis for the Orlando Magic on Bally Sports and what previously Fox Sports. The man who joined the Orlando Magic in 1990 as an assistant coach before becoming our head coach. Head coach from 93 to 97 and again 2005 to 2007. The one and only Brian Hill. I didn't realise that he actually holds the record for wins for the Magic, a 58% win rate with the team. That's fantastic. Only head coach that's the best head coach we've had in franchise history. Took us to the playoffs 4 times, captured 2 division titles, and as I say, took us to the 95 finals. Also, the honour of Eastern Conference team at the All-Star head coach in 95. I'm so looking forward to that, guys. Yourselves?
Yeah, can't wait to be able to chat to Coach Hill. Yeah, it'd be
good quality.
We've all met him before. He's an absolute gent, isn't he? So we've got some cool conversations and questions to throw his way.
But before we go into, we're going to get this Magic news over and done with fairly quickly. Hey, what's wrong with 5 losses?
I'm joking.
Mate, you wouldn't be happy if it was a 4-1 or 1-4. None of us would be happy because it would have hurt their lottery odds. Hey, so we'll find the positive in the 5 losses of the week. So we closed the season out on a run of 7 losses. Lost the Timberwolves 128 to 96 in our final home game of the season. Very moving images of Karl Anthony Towns hugging his father on Mother's Day. RJ led the team for the Magic with a career high 19 points. We then moved on to play the Bucks, which we lost by 102 to 114. A really good battling effort from the Magic in that one, I felt. Forcing the Bucks to have to play the Stars to the very last. That game was led by Cole Anthony with 18. Then we played the Hawks, lost 93 to 116. We'd got no answer to the Atlanta starters. Magic were led by RJ Hampton with another double-figure scoring game of 18 points. Onto the final 2 games, we moved to Philly, lost 97 to 122. RJ again with double-figure scoring. Just missed a triple-double with 12 points, 11 rebounds and 9 assists. And here we go. We were led by Iggy Brzdikis, and I've probably got that wrong.
Butchered that.
Yeah, as usual. Mate, I was thinking, actually, if we are having a Penny for Your Thoughts during the summer where we're having a quiz one, a category could be names that Paul can't say.
Yeah. There's a lot.
We're not going to be short of questions in there. But yeah, Brzdikis led us with 21 points, career high, 9 of 12 shooting from the field, 3 of 5 from beyond the arc. Final game of the season, we lost 117 to 128 against a Philadelphia bench unit at best. Cole Anthony scored a career high 37 points, and I think you could desperately see how he desperately wanted to get to 40 points towards the end there. And the final bit of news, RJ Hampton was named the Eastern Conference Rookie of the Month. So that sums up the week that was.
What about Paul? What about Oklahoma City? Don't we have to give a special thanks to a certain player on the OKC team for getting the W against the Clippers on Sunday? Do you want to try his name?
You mean Mr. Pokashevsky?
Hey!
Oh, hey, good man.
I knew it was coming. I've been practicing.
Love that.
Yeah. Thanks, Poker.
Well done.
But hey, it's got to be that time. Let's move on to our first guest, the one and only Brian Hill. I'm not sure when we started doing this pod just prior to the season start, we expected to be saying this, but I'm delighted to say welcome to the man who took us to the 1995 NBA Finals, the coach, Brian Hill. Brian, thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you, and it's a pleasure to be with you guys. It's been a while.
Well, let me tell you, there's a huge amount of excitement amongst our followers that you are on the podcast, and we did have various questions come in, but we're very conscious of the time, so we'll dive straight into it. What we're doing on this one is a little bit of a season review, and I think you're the ideal guy for this question. The job that Coach Clifford and the challenges he's faced this season, 32 different starting lineups, 28 players on roster at various points. Both are the most in the franchise history. Unprecedented injury issues, a shortened preseason, little or no practice time, and the team hitting reset in the mid-season. How impressed have you been, and what difficulties have the coach faced?
Well, first, let me start by saying Steve Clifford and his staff do a phenomenal job. Steve's an outstanding coach, and he's got a great staff of assistant coaches in Tyrone Corbin and Pat Delaney, Steve Hetzel, really a great group, a great staff that he put together. I wouldn't wish on any coach what Cliff and his staff had to go through this year. It's incredibly hard. Forget the pandemic aside, with no summer league, no training camp, very few opportunities to practice because you're playing every other day. And then on top of that, to lose Jonathan Isaac, Markelle Fultz, and a whole plethora of guys beyond that for, long periods of time during the season, to coach a team that has so many different pieces coming in and out all year long is incredibly hard when you can't actually get on the floor and spend a lot of time practicing to try and put the pieces together. So it's unfortunate the year that the Magic had, but I thought Steve and his staff handled it as well as it could possibly be handled. Yeah. I don't think anybody could have done a better job.
No, I think the job that he's actually done is quite incredible. To keep some form of identity for the team with the ever-changing lineups that we've had has been an incredible achievement. Forget the record aside. That's what it is. But I think it's incredible.
I couldn't agree more. And, when you have these guys coming on one 10-day contract after another, those guys are more concerned about what they do, to try and establish an NBA career than about the team's success. They're more concerned about their individual accomplishments to try and get into the NBA and stay in the NBA rather than about the success of the team. So it's very hard to coach a group of guys that are just, coming and going like that. one 10-day contract after another.
Yeah. Go for it, G.
Yeah, hi, Coach. The 94-95 Magic team for me was the best team we've had, in the 32 years that the franchise has had a basketball team. Memories of, the finals run, Nick Anderson steal, beating Chicago on their home floor, the Game 7 against the Pacers. But what was your favourite moments coaching the team during that 94-95 run?
I don't, if I had to pick one moment, I guess it would have to be Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals against Indiana. But it's hard for me to pick one moment. The whole year was, a pretty incredible season with a great group of guys. But I think actually the realization that we were actually going to the NBA Finals after beating Indiana in that series was probably the highlight. Obviously, we didn't fare as well in the finals. So I'd probably have to put that as the highlight of the season.
And coaching, Shaq, Penny, Nick, Dennis Scott, those players, that must have been an absolute dream for you.
Well, it was, and sometimes people think that coaching a lot of talent is easier than coaching not as much talent. It's not always the case. Sometimes it's about making sure the personalities all mesh and fit together and work together on the floor. And that was a very diverse group of guys on that team. And, but the nice thing about them was once they walked between the lines of the basketball court, it was all about winning. If there were any other outside differences or anything else, or certain guys were jealous of other guys, all that was put aside once they walked between the lines, and they played to win every night.
Cool, thank you.
So Brian,
but it was a great group. I mean, I obviously the talent of Shaquille and Penny Hardaway and Nick and Dennis, to have the opportunity to coach guys that talented was, a great experience for me, and obviously helped me as a coach a great deal. And please don't worry about the time. Time's okay.
Really? Oh, that's superb. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So Brian, in all your years of coaching, we obviously know you had 2 stints with the Magic in the 90s and the mid 2000s. What was your favorite year coaching, whether it was with the Magic or with another team in the NBA? Have you got any one that sticks out for you?
Well, I'll say this, obviously going to the finals in 95, would have to be the highlight. I actually thought we were a better team the following season. When we won 60 games and Chicago won 72, and Chicago beat us in the conference finals. And I'll tell you why. People don't remember that Shaquille O'Neal didn't play in 28 of those games that year, that he was out with a broken wrist. And he missed 28 games, slightly more than a third of the season. And we still managed to win 60 games. And I thought that was the year that we really had a chance. Unfortunately, Michael Jordan had different ideas from what happened the season before. And he led the Bulls to 72 wins and ousted us from the playoffs. So, but I actually thought we were a better team in 95, 96 than we were the year before when we went to the finals.
Yeah. Was you you were given the accolade of coaching the Eastern Conference team in the 1995 All-Star game. How different is that, and how much fun as well?
Well, it's a lot of fun. You're honored just to be in the locker room and on the practice court, and the night of the game with those guys, all incredible players. And you really go into it with the idea of, number one, you're trying to make everybody happy and give everybody a certain amount of playing time because they're all stars and everybody deserves to play. The game actually becomes kind of secondary until you get to like the fourth quarter of the game. And then if it's, if it's a close game, then the competitive fires of everybody come out, and guys start playing to win. I think it was a little more competitive back then than it is today. Today, I think it's more of a show, just for guys, for dunks and, 3-point shots and everything else. I actually think it was, 25 years ago, it was a more competitive game from start to finish, even though guys were out there and enjoying themselves. They were still competing for the better part of the game at the same time.
Do you think some of that's because players are very different now? Like we see it before and after games, they're all a lot more pally with players off of other teams, especially some of the European players. Like when Vooch was with us, we always used to see him and Jokic hugging each other before and after the game. And you got a little bit more camaraderie with these players from different teams. Do you think some of that plays into it? And the other question I've got, do you like the Elam ending that they brought into the All-Star game to try and make it a little bit more of a competition?
To answer your first question, it's definitely the case.
Yeah.
Players today, they grow up knowing each other no matter where they're from playing AAU basketball and USA teams and everything else. Back then, there were a lot of players that didn't like each other, because you had very intense rivalries, even within your conference, us in Indiana and Chicago, you put those things aside, New York, you put all those things aside because it's the All-Star game, but there was genuine dislike at that time between players and between our players and players on other teams. You don't really see that today because all these guys kind of come up together through the same AAU system. For the European players, I totally get it. Those guys are used to playing against those guys when they were on their national teams, playing overseas, and they've spent a lot of time playing against each other prior to coming into the NBA. So I totally get that of, guys either from their own country or from neighboring countries or just having an association through FIBA competition, being friendly and associating with each other after games. But the relationship between guys in the league today is vastly different than what it was 25 years ago.
Are there any players, Coach, on the current Magic roster that you think could make a great head coach in the future?
Well, that's a really interesting question. Could be coaches.
They're also young, aren't they?
Yeah,
he's a very young squad.
They all make too much money to want to be coaches. First of all. And
would you look at a point?
They don't really need the headaches. It's funny. Usually you end up seeing the guys that were point guards as players that end up leaning more toward going into the coaching profession than any other position in the league. So, now we have Markelle Fultz, who's injured. We really don't have a lot of true point guards on our team right now. Markelle is a pure point guard. Cole Anthony is more of a scorer. He has a scorer's mentality. Michael Carter-Williams is really kind of converted to the position from a wing player, but he plays the position well because he's a great defender on the ball. So I don't know. I would say the guy most suited would probably be Markelle. if that's what he ever decided to do. And obviously he comes from a great lineage, having played for Morgan Wooten at DeMatha High School in Washington, D.C. One of the most highly acclaimed high school coaches in America.
At the point where the Magic press reset, how far along the line of redevelopment do you feel that the team is? We don't seem to be starting from ground level to miss up. We've discussed this on many occasions, but we don't seem to be starting from a ground level point with some of the young guys that we've got.
I would have felt better maybe if Nick Vucevic was still on the team.
Get that.
That the rebuild might come a little bit quicker. I think a lot is going to depend upon this year's draft. There's a possibility we could have 2 picks in the top 10 of the draft. And I think there's an even bigger reliance on how quickly and how well Markelle Fultz and Jonathan Isaac return from their injuries. I think Markelle will be ready for the start of training camp. I'm not sure Jonathan will. And then there's always that year of after a severe knee injury where guys kind of feel their way through the season while they're playing until in their minds they're absolutely comfortable with the idea that, okay, I'm healthy, my knee's good. You usually see a year, a full season after a serious knee injury of guys that I'll say aren't at their full potential.
Right.
They're kind of easing their way back in. And then it's usually year 2 where they say, okay, I'm not, forget about the knee. I'm not worried about it anymore. And they go all out. So I don't know. I'd like to think that within 2 years, we can be back in the playoffs again.
Yeah.
And I think for fans to think anything quicker than that wouldn't be realistic.
Yeah, that's very interesting because we've all said previously on various pods that we've done that if we landed number 1 pick in the draft lottery, it's not an instant solution that's going to propel you to the position of being a challenger or even back to the playoffs. There's very, very few players that have had that impact on teams from draft.
No,
that's
you're
very
absolutely
interesting too.
right. And if you look at, there's only so many Shaquille O'Neals and LeBron James and guys like that can, possibly change the fortunes of a team. And if you look at the top, I guess what are considered to be the top 5 or 6 players in the draft, most of them are guards, are perimeter players. And that can help a great deal, but I don't know that it's going to get you over the hump from being a 21-win team to a 45-win team. Now, if the second pick can work out equally as well, that would help. But I really think for them to get back in the playoffs next year, it would either have to be whoever is drafted, in addition to somebody acquired via trade or free agency. And this is the year that the Magic can be a player in free agency now because of the cap situation. The question is, who's available, that fits your team, that can help take you to the next level.
How important is it, do you think, to get some veteran players around this young group of core guys that we've got on this roster, and obviously whoever we draft this summer as well?
I think it's critical.
Yeah.
I think it's critical. There's an old saying in the NBA, and especially in the coaching fraternities: young guys just get you beat. You don't
heard
win.
that before.
You don't win with young guys. They just get you beat. No, I think it's very important that there has to be the right mix of veteran players and youth. And it doesn't even really matter if the veteran player, they can be second unit guys,
yeah,
but they have that experience and that ability to mentor younger players and explain to them what's right, what's wrong. You know, don't go off crazy when the coach, you know, rips you a new one because he's right, you're wrong. Those guys are invaluable to have in your locker room and on your team to help mentor young players and to help hold young players accountable, because otherwise that always falls on the shoulders of the coach. And if the coach has to be the heavy every day, it wears thin. And that's usually the case when you have a lot of young players, is that the coach has to be that guy that's holding them accountable all the time. So when you have one or two veteran guys in the locker room that can go to that guy and say, hey, don't get all upset, you know, when he gets after you, because he's trying to make you a better player, and he's right. You know, you just don't want to see it because, you know, you're a little headstrong and, you know, you're still young, you're not experienced yet. Those type of guys are invaluable to have in your locker room. So to your point, I think it's very important for this team to add some pieces like that.
Yeah.
I've got one more.
Coach,
So,
you got one more, have you? Go on.
It was just a spin off of that. Can you liken it to any players the Magic son? Because obviously you coached a young Shaquille O'Neal and a young Dwight Howard. Was there any veterans in those two teams that we signed that sort of made a big difference to those two players, and Penny as well?
Well, we had Scott Skiles, who was very good for Penny. You know, even though Penny ultimately replaced Scott in the starting lineup, you know, people forget we started off the year. Scott Skiles was our starting point guard, and Penny Hardaway was our starting two guard. Nick Anderson was our small forward. Dennis Scott came off the bench. You know, and then about 22 games into the season, we shifted that and moved Penny to the point. I didn't want to have Penny have the responsibility of being our point guard from day one, because Scott was more experienced and was an accomplished NBA player, but he could be Scott's backup. He could move from two guard to point guard for maybe 8 to 10 minutes of the game and still get some experience at the point guard position. And we did that for about 20 games before we ultimately made him the starter. But we had Scott Skiles, we had Jeff Turner, who was excellent. And on my, pardon me?
Tree Rollins was another one.
I was just going to say, and on my staff, we had Tree Rollins, and that was really a huge part of the reason why I hired Tree, was because of his experience. Even though he was never known as a great offensive player, he understood the center position, having been an outstanding center for his whole career, and could really help Tree with all of the defensive nuances of the NBA as opposed to the college game. So yeah, veterans were important, you know, to the growth of that team, those guys in particular.
Yeah. Coach, how involved does a head coach become in the draft process and speaking to the scouts, or is it ultimately, you know, the scouts and the general manager that makes the pick?
You know, I think it's different on every team. You know, today, from what I understand, you know, talking to a lot of different people around the league. The coaches don't get nearly involved in the draft as they used to. Okay. They kind of leave it up to, you know, the general manager and all of his scouts that he has, scouting personnel. And they'll look at, you know, what the average coach probably does today is go to his GM and say, okay, we're picking number 3. Give me 10 names that you think you would possibly consider at number 3. And give me all the film on all those guys that we have. And usually the coach and his staff will sit down and they'll evaluate maybe those 10 guys for that one pick and write up a report of what they think, okay, and how he fits into the team. But the ultimate decision will always go with the people that have been doing the work all year long, out evaluating talent while you've been coaching the team.
Right. Are you a best player available or positional need when it comes to the draft?
Positional guy. Unless you know you can take that best player available and turn it into a need. By that, I mean by trade. You know, if I draft this guy, I know I can trade him to team B for these 2 guys that we need. You know, that otherwise I go, my process is what we need, as long as, let's say it's a shooting guard, as long as there's somebody out there that's you think is good enough to come in and fill that role. If you don't think it's somebody good enough, then you go with best available player.
Yeah, yeah. Geraint, you're our longest standing Magic fan. So you fire another one at Brian and then we'll let the man go and enjoy his afternoon.
Oh my gosh, you put me on the spot now. I only had so many questions.
I'm good. If you need me, I'm good. I'm not going anywhere for the next half hour.
You invited Darrell Armstrong onto the team back in 94, 95.
Right.
You know, and he hung around and was end of the bench player. What did you see in Darrell that, you know, could transpire to be an excellent NBA player? Like, and he showed that, you know, by the end of the 97, 98 season, he could become, you know, a reliable player.
I give all the credit for that and a lot of other things to John Gabriel, our general manager. You know, John scouted Darrell in various leagues, various semi-pro leagues, and what was then the CBA, and invited him to come to Orlando. And he went through some practices and then played in our summer league prior to that season. And I loved him, you know, just because he has that pit bull mentality of, as a defensive player, that he just guarded the ball and guarded opposing point guards so well. He drove them crazy. He drove Scott Skiles crazy for the entire season, because Scott would have, you know, he would have to guard Scott every day in practice. Scott would come to me and say, would you please put, you know, after he played 40 minutes the night before against the New York Knicks or somebody, and then we practiced the next day, and then Darrell would be picking him up at full court, you know, when we were scrimmaging. And then Scott would just look at me and go like, really? You're going to put this guy on me after I played 40 minutes last night? Because he was just relentless as a defensive player. And that's what I loved about him. You knew that ultimately, you know, offensively, a little bit more would come. You know, he was a pretty good shooter at that time, could penetrate, but it was his defensive ability that got him into the NBA, in which he really excelled at.
Clearly from that, Brian, you've got a lot of affection and enjoyed coaching Scott and Darrell there. Is there anybody else that really stood out for you as fun to coach?
you know, they were all really, obviously there's no one having more fun with than Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, if you can't have fun with Shaquille O'Neal, there's something wrong with you, you know, because he's a clown at heart. And, you know, as you all know, has an incredible personality. We see him on TV now, you know, pushing, you know, one thing after another, you know, doing commercials for 9 or 10 different, you know, products out there on TV. And he's just an incredible personality. So obviously had a blast coaching Shaquille. All those guys on that team were a lot of fun. The second time around, you know, having the opportunity to coach Grant Hill, you know, Grant, to me, obviously at that time, you know, Grant had gone through severe ankle injury and, you know, was just kind of coming back off of that. I'll tell you what I think when I was coaching the Magic the first time and competing against Grant Hill when he was with the Detroit Pistons, I thought he was the closest thing to Michael Jordan since Michael Jordan, had he not got hurt. I think we would be talking about Grant Hill the way we have since talked about Kobe Bryant, guys like that. God rest his soul. You know, I think Grant would have gone down as one of the best perimeter players in NBA history.
Okay.
But all those guys were fun to coach.
So obviously you spent years and years coaching. How much fun is it doing the like the TV work now that you do for Bally Sports and working with Dante and the team there?
It's fun, you know. 2 reasons. Number one, I've had a relationship with David Steele and Jeff Turner and Dante for a long time. You know, Jeff played for me. David has been with the Magic since day one. And, you know, the 10 years I was with the Magic, you know, we became good friends. Dante, I've known more since my second stint, you know, with the Magic. So because we get along so well, number one, and enjoy each other's company, that makes the job tremendously easy. And my job obviously isn't brain surgery. It's not as difficult or as taxing as what David and Jeff do, doing the entire game. And the second reason I love it is because it just keeps me involved in the game. I think it would have been very hard for me to go cold turkey from, you know, coaching for 45 years and then all of a sudden, you know, leaving coaching and having nothing to do with the game anymore. That would have been extremely hard for me. So the TV is one part of it that keeps me involved. And then, you know, the Magic hired me as an advisor 3 years ago to the front office. So that, you know, that part keeps me involved. If anybody wants my opinion, I'll give it, but I don't give it unless I'm asked. That was the only way I would take the job. You know, I'll give you my opinion if you ask for it, but otherwise I'm not going to be one of those guys that's going to walk in and say, you know, I really think you need to do this, this, or this. You know, that's not my style. Somebody wants my opinion of what, you know, what's going on with the team right now, and they ask, I'll give it to them. Otherwise, I keep it zipped.
So what's your role involved with doing the advising work? Can you give us a little bit of insight to what you do?
Well, it's mostly just helping out Alex Martins, our president. You know, Alex and I have been together a long time. And Alex is phenomenal on the business side. And that's not to say, you know, anything negative about him regarding the basketball side. But obviously, I think just because of my experience and because of our relationship, he felt it would be good to have, you know, a coach as an advisor and handling the basketball operations side of things. So as I said, if he asks, I give him my insight into what I think, whether it's personnel related or, you know, how the team is playing or anything else. And we have an excellent working relationship that way.
Brilliant. Last one from me, Coach. JT came on the pod a long time ago now, and he told us of the story of you being stranded and ending up in the same hotel as Marilyn Manson. How was that for you as a coach?
How was that for me?
Yeah.
I'll tell you in a nutshell. I walked down we were in a snowstorm. Nobody could get out of the hotel. We were in Allentown, Pennsylvania, snowed in, and there was Marilyn Manson staying in the hotel, and there was the whole cast of Sesame Street on Ice skaters staying in the hotel, and there was a wedding party staying in the hotel. And I walked down into the bar with one of my assistant coaches, and I saw half my team in there commiserating with a lot of other people in there. And I just said, this isn't a good place for me to be. And I turned around. I think I might have had one beer, and I turned and went back up to my room and just said, I don't need to see what's going on down there. I'll leave it at that.
Very wise.
Yeah, I think that was probably a very wise decision, Coach. I just want to fire 3 very quick ones to you, if you don't mind. With regards to the Magic season, has there been a particular player that stood out for you?
That's a really good question.
It's one we're thinking about as well. We're coming to this later on when we talk, and we've had a real hard job deciding as to who we feel as well.
So many guys have gone out with injuries, and so many guys have had to step up and play starting roles that would normally be, you know, backups, would be second unit guys. You know, I mean, prior to the trade, my favorite player on the team was Nick Vucevic. I thought his skill level, you know, everything about him, as evidenced by the fact he made, you know, 2 all-star teams.
Yeah.
I think as far as the young guys on the team, I think there's guys that have an opportunity to be pretty good players. I think Cole Anthony has a chance to be a good player. You know, he still has things to learn, but I like his competitiveness. He's got that scorer's mentality, which for a point guard, you know, you just have to make sure you're getting everybody else involved, in addition to yourself. But I like his talent. I like Chuma Okeke,
yeah,
who I think can be a pretty good 2-way player, you know, offensively and defensively. I'm not sure whether he'll be a starter or whether he'll be a backup. It probably depends upon how fast Jonathan Isaac comes back.
It's a difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah. Are there guys that you like? You tell me who you like, and I'll tell you what I think.
I think that I've kind of split it into 2 for myself in the same way as you just have done prior to the trade and since. I think hands down, Vooch was incredible for the team prior to the trade. I also think he's an absolute gentleman, a true lovely guy, who has always represented the team in a brilliant, fantastic manner. You can't fault the man for his integrity. So I'm probably angling towards Vooch overall. And also because of the numbers he was putting up, the night in, night out effort that he was making. Since the trade, I've been very excited to see the growth of RJ. He's making mistakes, but he's been able to play, being allowed to make those mistakes because there's not been that pressure to be. We weren't pushing for a position of the playoffs. So I've been very, very excited to see the development of RJ. But I think I would ultimately go between him and Cole Anthony for Cole Anthony because of what he's done over the season. But I want to see Cole make all the players better.
I also like RJ. I think RJ. I think first of all, his body is going to fill out. He hasn't reached full maturation yet.
No.
His body is going to fill out more. I love his athleticism. I like what he can do at the offensive end of the floor. If there's an area he really has to concentrate on, it's at the defensive end of the floor. And his ability, especially to guard one-on-one, guard his man with the ball on the perimeter and keep him from penetrating, which is kind of a lost art, quite honestly, in today's NBA. But I do like what he can do at the offensive end. And he's great in transition. He's excellent attacking the basket. If he can be a consistent 35 to 37% three-point shooter, then he's going to be a very good player.
Yeah. Huge offseason for him.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a huge offseason for all those guys.
Yeah, I agree.
Because
I really do.
Those young guys have not gone through it. They haven't played in summer league. They haven't gone through a regular traditional training camp. They just got thrust kind of right into the regular season because of all this COVID stuff. So this offseason is going to make the season a lot longer for them, especially for a guy like RJ, who basically just sat on the bench in Denver for the first 2/3 of the season. Now you go into, they'll be asked to stay in Orlando the better part of the summer and work out with the coaches. They'll go through summer league, they'll go through training camp, then they'll go into the season. So this coming season is going to be actually a lot longer than anything RJ or Cole has ever really experienced.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how if they're able to sustain the same level of playing ability, the same consistency throughout the whole season, or whether they're going to kind of go through peaks and valleys, depending upon whether they wear down or get tired because of the length of the season. So it's going to be interesting in a lot of different ways for these young guys.
Quite agree. And the final question, Brian, who are you taking as NBA final champions? Who do you think?
Man, I'll tell you, it's going to be interesting, this whole play-in thing. I mean, think about it. The Lakers could get knocked out tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're all hoping
That'd be great.
I mean, if Steph Curry goes for 45 or 50, they could be done. It could be well, actually they would get one more game, but
yeah.
It's going to be interesting with this whole play-in thing. I don't know, I guess everybody thinks, Brooklyn with, the three all-stars is going to put it together and get there. I think they're going to get a tough series with Philly. I don't know that Milwaukee can get back. I'm not sure about that. I love Giannis. I love everything he stands for, in addition to being a hell of a player, but I don't know if they can get past either one of those two teams. In the West, I'm kind of rooting for Phoenix I think it's a great story. And I happen to like Monty Williams and think he does a phenomenal job of coaching. Love Devin Booker. You have to like Chris Paul, you know, as one of the all-time best point guards. You know, and quite honestly, I think LeBron is phenomenal. But I don't know if, having missed all this time and at the stage of his career that he's at, you know, whether they can put it together and get back to another finals. Obviously, Utah has to be in the mix. But I think when push comes to shove, I think Utah is going to get beat before getting to the finals. I think it could very well be a Phoenix, LA Lakers with the Clippers on the fringe of that also.
Yeah,
tough to tell.
It's wide open, isn't it?
Such a weird season.
Yeah,
you know, such a weird season. It's hard to figure out anything.
Well, we again, that's something that we're going to be discussing later. But we are. I know full well that we are all sort of. Well, it could be these and it could be these. It's so wide open. So it's interesting to get your take on it, Brian. But again, just have to say thank you so much for joining us. We genuinely appreciate it. It's been amazing to have you talk to us. It's been so interesting and really good fun. So thank you so much.
Well, it's great to chat with you guys, and it's great to know that there's such avid Magic fans across the pond. And hopefully, if you get back over here, we'll get a chance to say hello again.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we're already in the process of planning the next trip already.
Oh, Sounds good. Sounds good. Make sure you say hello if you do.
Always. But thank you so much, Brian. We have genuinely appreciated it. You know, you're a Magic legend, so thank you so much.
Maybe in my own mind, but that's about it.
The win percentage says otherwise, my friend.
It's great chatting with you guys.
Thank you so
much,
much,
Brian. All the best.
Cheers,
all the best. Your support of the Magic.
As you'll notice, we've been joined by game host and sideline reporter for the Orlando Magic and Bally Sports, Dante Marcatelli. Dante, welcome back, and how are you, my friend?
Man, it's great to see you guys. Look at these smiling faces, right? We must be thinking about the lottery coming up. We must have all of our
it's all about the odds.
How do we follow up Brian Hill? That is a tall task, man. There's nobody better than that guy. I'm honored to be a part of it and see you guys again here. This is fun.
Well, before we go any further, I've got to throw this over to G, because we had a certain friend of yours on here a couple of weeks back who said that we'd got to ask a question about a certain glory hog. So G, over to you.
Yeah, so
I'm nervous. I'm nervous.
We had Mr. George Galante on the podcast, and obviously we mentioned the Dante Galante show. And during many of his stories, he actually told us, you know, how you actually say his name properly, and it's not Galante, Galante.
Yes.
So we said to him, so why is it called the Dante Galante show? Shouldn't it be called the Galante and Dante show? And so
it shouldn't.
All right. So he said, next time you get Dante on, you need to ask him why.
You are exactly right. We make him say his name completely wrong, just so it'll rhyme. And it's alphabetical. Dante's first, and then Galante. So you do Dante and Galante. It just works. But no, he's been asking me for years if we can change it to Dante and Galante. He's been asking me. So who knows? Maybe when we do the reboot, maybe we can revisit that. He's great though, isn't he? Did you have fun with George? It looked like you guys were having a great time.
Absolutely.
Huge fun. Yeah, he was really good company. We had an absolute blast. Came off it.
He's good. George hasn't worked in probably 6 years. It's probably the last time he's worked. But he still gets paid by the organization. So it's pretty impressive. I'm kidding. He does a lot.
He had us rolling with the story about Cole Anthony grabbing Cole back after the Minnesota winner. That was quality. Really good time with him. So yeah, but before we go any further as well, we also want to say thank you to yourself, Dante, and the team, because we had a moment where you gave us the shout out during the Milwaukee game, And also there was the pod shout out for the Penny for Your Thoughts pod during the New York game. And that's amazing of you guys. So thank you very much.
Anytime. Now, listen, this is so cool for us to be doing these games and to know that there's, I mean, you really do, you see it, and you know that there's people watching, and there's just diehard Magic fans everywhere. And we see them on the road, and we see it, but to know that they're, outside the country and, as far away as you guys are, and some even further, really, it's amazing to think that you guys can follow it and stay up with it and know as much as anybody about it. That's the remarkable thing. I really credit you guys, and it's a feather in your cap, and you guys won us over right away. It's we always love interacting with you, and we're very grateful for your support all year. So thank you guys.
Well, it is genuinely appreciated. Mikey,
I was just
you've set up that Twitter group. Yeah.
Can we do the next one with a pint? Can I have a pint for the next one?
Absolutely.
Can we share a pint when we do this?
G's blatantly. You got
Yes.
Carl in tonight, G?
Yeah, I have got Carl.
Yeah, he's already on it.
They replaced my Bud Light in the order, so I'm not happy about that.
No, we'll get that fixed.
Yeah.
Talking about the guys in the Twitter group, just quickly, the three of us can honestly vouch for some of the guys that live in the UK over here. They still stay up late night every single night, despite how difficult these last few months of the season have been. And what you were saying about, you think that we know what we're talking about, we just pretend we do. We're just making it off as we go along.
You pull it off. I know, to think that people are staying up that late over there, because games are starting 1 or 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I'm not gonna lie to you, there's about 4 or 5 games where I slept during the fourth quarter and then just came on and did the post-game show. I'm kidding. You thought about it. You certainly thought about it. Yeah, you certainly thought about it. Ooh, it was tough, wasn't it, guys? This was a challenging year. Very challenging year.
Well, this is where I'm just going to jump on to quickly about the lottery position. We finished with a record of 21 and 51, 14th in the East, third worst record in the NBA. Silver lining, 14% chance of the number 1 pick, and a 52% chance of top 4. We're guaranteed top 7 with the record that we have. We've also got the Chicago pick, which is tied, I believe, with the Pelicans and Kings. And dependent upon where they come out in the lottery, they're going to be separated by the flip of a coin. So, how are you feeling about it, Dante?
Well, here's the thing. I think you have to say, regardless of how anyone feels about the trades or the new direction or where we've gone, the decision was made, and this is the path that we're charting forward. And you'd have to say it was a success, would you not? I mean, if this is what you want to do, and you're making the trade and you're going younger and you want to position yourself to have salary cap flexibility, to be able to sign free agents, to be able to acquire assets, to make trades. And then the last part of that is draft capital, right? You want to have your draft capital. And what you did is you went out, the young guys developed the last 6 or 7 months of the season. Look at all the strides that we saw some of these young guys make. And in doing so, unfortunately, you go 6 and 22 since the trade. That puts you in position to have the best percentage to get the number 1 pick. And it's interesting, David Steele and Jeff Turner unearthed this on the last broadcast. 3 times in franchise history, we've had 21 wins. The first 2, we got the number 1 pick both times, which ended up to be Shaq and Dwight. So who knows what happens this go around, but you have to say you develop these young guys and you got yourself the best shot at the number 1 pick. And the Chicago pick, you just don't want that in the top 4. That's got to come somewhere around 10, 11, or 12. Flip the coin, and we want to see their name wherever they're supposed to be. Otherwise, that means they got in the top 4, because hopefully we want that pick to convey. And then you're looking at 2 top 10 picks going into this roster next year.
Yeah. Mikey, I know you tweeted out about that you're preparing yourself for 7th.
No, not quite that bad.
You know what? You might as well prepare, and then you can all be excited together when we get number 1.
I was just trolling 1 or 2 people, but yeah, honestly, no, not at all. I think you just got to prepare yourself for the worst case scenario. I mean, it's coming down to a coin flip whether we're going to get a top 4 pick or not, really, isn't it? 52% chance. So,
well, it could, and you're playing the percentages. I mean, you got a good chance to be in the top 4. I mean, worst case scenario is you only get 7. Worst case scenario is you fall to 7, and then the Chicago gets in the top 4, and you don't get that pick. So that way, so there is that scenario where you could. But after everything that happened this year, guys, aren't we due some luck now? Can't we get, if we had to go through all of that and our luck is going to come in on June 22nd, then to me, that makes it worth it. We can live with that.
Yeah. And one thing Geraint always says to us is, if it wasn't for Orlando, we wouldn't have had the bubble. So the NBA owes Orlando a favor. So hopefully
drop us a couple of extra balls in there.
Exactly.
That's right. Whatever it takes.
Absolutely.
It would be great. But we'll all be watching that night. That'll be a big night. And then you got the draft on July 29th. So no, you're right. We got a big month ahead of us.
Will you guys be doing any sort of broadcast around
we will on draft night? Yep, we will. Yep. We're still working out the details, but it's going to stream. We're going to stream it online, and then we're also going to air it locally here at our affiliate here in town, 96.9. But we're still trying to see what that looks like, and especially the interest. If you end up with 2 picks in the top 10, there's going to be a ton of interest trying to see who those 2 guys would be. So we want to give Magic fans a place to go, because that could be a very big night. That could be a franchise-changing night for the Orlando Magic. So we want to have a place for a couple hours where fans can check in and out and just kind of get caught up and have a say and interact with us and all that. We're looking forward to a fun night.
Well, both nights we're gonna set up a virtual Zoom call, aren't we, for all the UK fans? So we're gonna sit there and watch it live with a few pints together. So if you want to jump on as a guest, Dante,
sign me up for that. I'm in. Yes, yes.
Oh, that would be very popular, mate.
What I'm trying to figure out is, why don't we do something? Can we do something like that for the lottery? Let's do that on the lottery too. Let's do that on the 22nd. Yeah, we'll get everyone together. And yes, I'm in. I am in. Okay. I am in.
Wicked.
That is brilliant. Thank you for that, Dante. Right. That's amazing.
That'll be fun.
Let's move on to the season. Let's have a little talk about the season. So let's start off with probably a positive. So what your highlight moment of the season? Dante, what would yours be?
Probably that last game when we finished that last. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I'm kidding. It was a hard season, guys. It was a hard season. The highlight of the season for me, it's 2. It's hard to not think that Cole Anthony game winner against Memphis was not the highest point of the season. I just thought that was fantastic. I thought his excitement, his energy, the way he hit the shot, the 20-point comeback, the fans in the building, everything that came with it. That was my favorite moment of the season. For me, but I think there was a feeling after we started 4-0 for the first time in franchise history, that up until that Cole Anthony game winner, that was it for me. That was because you're thinking, okay, you're 4-0, then you end up going 6-2, and you're thinking this team has a chance to, you heard Steve Clifford say it all the time, that this team has a chance to maybe be the surprise team in the East. And you started believing that. These guys were playing like that. Just that devastating injury to Markel, charted us on a new course. But I love that game winner by Cole Anthony, and I love his personality, and I hope he never changes. And I think it's fantastic how excited he got over that. Right, that to me was my favorite.
Mikey, your favorite?
Dante's taking all of them.
You can have the same favorite moment.
No.
Absolutely. Yes.
The other one that sticks out for me is Chuma's dunk against the Lakers. That was quite a highlight this season.
Nice one. Like that one.
There was a few. Cole had a putback dunk earlier in the season. A few nice highlights like that. But the game winners, the interviews were just first class, weren't they? Were just
the Cole interview after the winning.
I'll tell Dante.
That was
the story.
Just so amazing.
We'll tell Dante the story. So that second interview against the Grizzlies, I watched the game live. And I had a message in our WhatsApp group between the 3 of us, and Paul that said, "I've watched it." So I rang him straight away, FaceTime. And I was like, "Have you watched the interview yet?" He's like, "No, I've only just finished watching the game." I was like, "Well, stick it on, put it up loud so I can hear it again." And I watched your reaction live, didn't I? It was quality.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
I had to watch that several times because I was rolling with laughter. That interview.
I was picking, right? You were picking up every time you watch it, you picked up something different. Like it's all of a sudden these. I missed it the first time he said it when I got switched on to Kyle Anderson. He's like, "Okay, I got this now." And I'm thinking, well, kind of took a shot at him. It was just funny. The whole thing was, just very entertaining. It was just very entertaining, but that's him. He's just very honest. And, Kyle didn't take offense to it. It just was very, very honest. That's why we do those interviews, guys. That's why when we set those things up, that's what you're trying to capture. You're trying to capture the raw emotion. You're trying to get the excitement. Remember last year when we get the win in LA and Markel Fultz had the triple double and they're dousing him with water. I mean, those live time reactions or what you're shooting for. And a lot of guys, try to play it cool and act like you've been there before. And, they say what they're supposed to say. But every once in a while, you get somebody like Cole that breaks the mold, and it's very entertaining. Vooch was like that. I used to have a lot of fun with Vooch on those post-game interviews. He was fun, different personality. He wouldn't be yelling and excited like that, but he was more dry. But when you find those guys that you connect with and you can have some fun with, it makes it very entertaining.
What's your favorite one of all time, Dante? Is it the one in Boston when we went to the playoffs in 2019 with Vooch and Evan?
It might be. I think about Glenn Davis on the Thanksgiving Day when he ripped the turkey leg off.
Hilarious.
Just started eating it. We were all just stood there horrified. I couldn't believe that. He had one where he was all sweaty and Glenn Davis just grabbed me and we did the whole interview in a bear hug. I thought, okay, that stands out. But thinking about, and then we did, the interview after game 2 of the NBA Finals. I'm sorry, game 3 of the NBA Finals when it's 2-1. And you're talking to guys, in the locker room after that game was just surreal. But I think that Cole, nothing got the traction that Cole Anthony interview did, though, just because he is a funny individual. Funny.
And Tom Brady liked the tweet about it, mate.
Yes, he did. Yeah, I know. That's what made me lose my mind. So I owe Cole Anthony because by accident, Tom Brady saw me. So I'll take that.
Quality.
Gee, your favorite moment, mate?
Wow, you've touched upon most of them. I'm just trying to see if I can add to it. The Aaron Gordon screen on Kyle Lowry.
Yes.
I knew you were going to say that.
You like that, didn't you? You like that.
Yeah, you've got to, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've got to. That guy just gets under our skin.
Sorry,
G. Did I? Okay. Yeah. No, but you mentioned it. The interviews, the 2 you had with Cole Anthony, they stand out. They were great. The 6-2 start. But for me, my favorite game winner was the one against the Timberwolves, just because it was from down the other end. There was no expectation. It was almost like, a wing and a prayer, and just see if it goes. And the shock, and it was 8:00 in the morning. I watched that, and you just get a buzz from it the whole day. And the 6-Man Show made a little video with Celine Dion's "Your Heart Will Go On," and I think I've watched that hundreds of times already. And then you've got him going to the locker room. So, it's just special moments like that. Just want to get a few more of them in the coming seasons now with the guys that we've got. But it
was interesting. We talked to Geraint. We talked to I did an event with Cole a couple of weeks after that, and it's interesting to hear him say, if you watch it again, depending on what vantage point you get, but Jared Vanderbilt was the guy that went to the free throw line. And he said, I knew he was going to miss both free throws. He goes, if you look at it, you could see in his eyes, he didn't want anything to do with being at the free throw line. He said, so I thought in my head, I know he's missing these 2. Just let the ball come to me somehow, some way. So he was ready. And he can say whatever you want after the fact, right? Who knows what's really real? But I believe him. And he said, let the ball come to me and I'm going to make this shot. That was when you watch it, you kind of see him trying to get in the right position and make sure everybody knew where he was. That's the beauty of Cole. He is not afraid of that big shot because he feels he can make it every time. It's great. He's 2 for 2.
Yeah. He's got that star mentality, hasn't he? He wants the ball, wants to put the ball in the basket and just get the W. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He does. No, I like that. I think that's a special quality to have in your young point guard.
And I'm guessing that's going to come as one of the part of the next question, because I wanted to know what you've taken as a positive from the season. So, Mikey, go with it. You go first.
Top of my list is Cole Anthony. He's been one of the brightest players we've had this season. He made a significant jump when he came back from his injury, especially offensively, finishing at the basket. I know I talked about this quite a few episodes ago, looking at some of his numbers, finishing right around the rim. He almost doubled his percentage, I think, with that. Shooting the 3, 34% for the season. So that was something we've lacked the last couple of years, as that outside shot from some of the wings. He's just been a bit of a breath of fresh air, I think, for the team this season. So Cole, Chuma as well. Chuma's has progressively started again. I'll start that bit again. He's progressively improved as the season's gone on. Offensively, defensively, he's probably been our best wing defender this year. So he's got good lateral footwork, good speed, good size for a defender. So couple couple of positives to take into next season with Fultz and Isaac to come back into the mix.
Yeah. G, what would you take from it?
Well, not everyone liked the trades, but, it's given us a lot of flexibility. You can see a clear path now. You've got some money to spend in a couple of years' time, free agency. You've got 2 potentially top 10 picks now to join the mix. You've got Fultz and Isaac coming back, who are, very good starting players. So you throw that into the mix with the development of these youthful players. And I don't think we're that far off, being almost like a play-in team. I think we were 13 games out of 8. Now, that seems a lot, but if you put Jonathan Isaac on the floor, Markel Fultz on the floor, if we get Cunningham, if we get, a real good prospect, I don't think we're that far away from, being able to have a game in the postseason in the near future. So with the flexibility and you never know. You never know who wants to come and play for the Magic and who we bring in with free agents. So, a lot of optimism to going forward, especially with the youth. So I just like the fact we've got the flexibility now.
Yeah. It's a long while since we've had that. Dante, what about for yourself, my friend?
Yeah, I think I think you guys are all looking at it exactly the right way, because you were so hamstrung. You had to make a decision on Evan at the end of this season, right? And then, we knew Aaron didn't want to be here because he voiced his wish to be moved, to move on. And then, Nick Vucevic and a lot of young guys. Now you set yourself up pretty nice. If you still have Nick Vucevic on this roster, it's kind of as Brian Hill alluded to, kind of help these young guys along, then that's a different story. But you've got flexibility now. There's free agents that are going to be out there that we could never have conversations with. Now we can. Now we can come to the table. We can come to the table with almost anybody, and it's just a matter of convincing somebody to come. So I think you couple that with whatever 2 19-year-olds you're going to add into the mix. You're going to be young. Your average age is 24 years old right now. Seems to be that core of 5, that played at the end of the season with Bamba and Chuma and RJ and Cole. And, and if you add Wendell, their average age is 21 and a half. When you think about that with those 5 guys. So you add the right veterans, you got to get healthy next year. You had 400 games lost to injury this year. That is a staggering number, almost historic number that you had this year. So you add all of that together, and then those young guys continue to develop. You guys, as tough as it was at times, I know we joke about it, but you're fans. And we're all fans, and we want the team to succeed. So even though it didn't translate to wins, we want to see RJ be successful, right? And he ends up winning Rookie of the Month for the Eastern Conference for the last month of the season. We want to see Cole develop. We want to see how does Wendell fit. We got tremendous enjoyment out of the end of the season seeing how those guys progressed. And I think now you get a training camp, right? Those rookies didn't have a summer league.
Absolutely.
You give maybe a summer league, a training camp, and then see what they look like going into next season. Yes. So Geraint, your point is valid. This thing can turn around very quickly. Doesn't mean next year, probably not, but certainly soon after that, depending on who you add, you could be right back in the mix.
I'm going with RJ. I'm so excited by the guy.
Yeah.
So excited by the guy. We were talking with Brian about this, and his off season is so important. Getting him that shot developed, which he clearly does have. If he's working with somebody like Mike Miller, then it's going to be very, very impressive to see what he comes back with. I'm very excited by him, and his development as he's played through the games with the Magic, his numbers are increasing constantly, and I think he's got a really good future with us. Thanks, Denver.
16 points a game his last 9, right? I mean, he's an incredible athlete. He might be the best athlete on the team, and he's 20 years old. And then he starts to figure things out, starts to add some size, and once he starts to use his speed for good, once he kind of realizes how quick he can be, and give me the guys it's that way in any sport. Give me the guys that are going to put in the work. And RJ and Cole for sure. Chuma, these are the guys that are going to do that. And then the sky's the limit. It's just as good as they want to be.
Now, when we asked Brian this, he found this very difficult to answer. Magic Player of the Season. So, G, who are you going with?
Right.
Very good
so
question.
as you mentioned with Brian, I'm going to cut this in half. Before the trade and after the trade.
Got to be.
And before the trade, I mean, Evan had a great year, nearly averaging 20 points, but you can't take it away from Nick Vucevic. Second time All-Star, carried us. Sometimes he was playing with 4 reserves players in the starting lineup.
Yeah. So
to be able to adapt and the way he just led the team was just sublime. So obviously Nick Vucevic with his 24.5 points, nearly 12 rebounds, nearly 5 assists for the first half of the season. Second half is a bit difficult just because we've had so many players out, and even some rookies missing significant time, like Cole Anthony, Chuma Okeke. But I'm going to go with Chuma Okeke. I just like
I can see that.
What he brings to the table. As I've mentioned on previous podcasts, he's in that like Trevor Ariza, Robert Covington kind of mold. Very good, does the dirty work, things that don't appear on the stat sheet. So his numbers for the season were 7.8, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. And I don't think that tells the tale, to be perfectly honest with you. What he does, his basketball IQ, he's just a very good player to have out on the floor. And, he can knock a shot down and come up with a big defensive play. So for me, he was the consistent throughout, first and second half, other than when he was injured towards the end. So Chuma for me.
How many times have we said that if all you're looking at is the box score, you're not looking at the game that the person's had? Because where do deflections show? They don't show anywhere. And he gets his hands in. So I get exactly where you're coming from with that, G. Dante, what about for yourself?
Yeah, I think that's great. I think those are great. And I go with Vooch as well. I extended for the whole year because I think Vooch, because of his value and how good he was, allowed you to get 2 first-round picks and a player, potential cornerstone centerpiece moving forward. So I think that's a big part. But it was such a joy watching Nick Vucevic clock in and go to work every single night. Never took a day off, right? And it didn't matter, like you guys said, didn't matter who started. We had 32 different starting lineups this year. 32. By far a franchise record. And a lot of those were with him. He didn't know who he had day in and day out. And then you'd lose Evan, you'd lose Aaron, you'd lose everyone, really. He didn't have James Ennis to start the year. So, Vooch to me was the guy. But then if you have, obviously with him not being on the team, as you guys mentioned, for the second half of the season, after the trade, for me, it was Cole. I think I love what RJ Hampton did. I love Chuma Okeke. I love what all these guys did. But Cole played, I think that's important. Cole played every game. He finished the season on his terms, which I think is very important. And he kind of, whereas RJ caught fire for the last couple of weeks of the season, to me, Cole was pretty steady from after the trade, finished as the team's second leading scorer, 13 points a game, and the valuable experience that he got. And to me, none of the other guys have any of the success they had if you don't have Cole solidifying the point guard position. We saw when a point guard came in there and he's just trying to learn the team, and it's Frank Mason or whoever coming in, and you're not comfortable. Jason Randall, when he first started, you're disorganized, and it's hard to win, get into your sets. He was never disorganized. He was always calm and always had us in the right sets we were supposed to go into. We didn't make a lot of shots, unfortunately, so we wouldn't score, wouldn't win enough games that way. But to me, his steadying influence and how he improved, I was most impressed with what he did at the end of the season.
That's who I went with Cole as well. I went with Cole for the second half. RJ is the player I'm excited about for the positive for the season. I went with Cole for my player of the second half. Yeah, Mikey. Yeah, just you remaining.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with both of you. Vooch, obviously, first half of the season. I think the fact that he made the All-Star team for the second time was kind of the nice parting gift, wasn't it, for him when he was leaving? I think we all loved his interview when he went to Chicago with Josh Robbins, when he asked him the question. It's shown him how much Orlando meant to him, and how much he meant to us, because he's been a big part of this team for 9 years, and unfortunately he's not going to be part of it moving forwards. But we've got plenty of other things to look forward to. Cole was thrown into the Lions den, wasn't he? As soon as Fultz went down. Was it against the Cavaliers earlier in the season?
Yeah, it was.
Game 6. Yep, right.
Thrown straight in, learning a new role, trying to learn a new system, new teammates. Then he had to fight adversity when he went through the injury, having to come back from that. then having to have a new roster what felt like every week, with players being injured and roster changes and moves being made. And as I already touched on earlier, he's made significant improvements throughout the season. Dante already said he was a steady influence at the point guard position. And next season, he's also going to get a chance to start with Markel, possibly if we assume that he's not going to be ready at the start of the season, he's going to get a chance to show what he can do at the beginning of next year as well. So obviously, if Clifford's going to want him to earn a bit more trust with him in terms of what he can do on the floor. So hopefully, if he can do that, then he'll be given more and more responsibility. So yeah, Cole's definitely mine for the second half of the season.
Yeah. So Dante, you're the only one who hasn't said it as yet, because we covered this I think last week. Who are you rooting for the finals? Who's your team?
Oh, interesting.
Hanging your hat on.
Okay, so I'm a big Tobias Harris fan. I've been able to stay in touch with him really a little bit from here and there, since he got traded, because I just thought, you talk about a guy that works. I mean, that guy put everything he had into his time here in Orlando, and then he did it in Detroit. Then he did it with the Clippers. So I know he was upset about not making the All-Star team. And I just feel like, to me, Tobias Harris is going to be the breakout player of this postseason. That's my prediction. I think he's ready. He's got the tools. He's going to have a healthy Embiid, Ben Simmons, Seth Curry shooting. There's going to be yeah, exactly. I mean, you're going to have all these guys.
I've got the Tobias.
You got a Tobias Harris Cup? Yeah, there you go. I love
2015.
it. Nice. 2015. I love it. See, I think that to me, that's the guy. I think he's poised at this point in his career, 7th or 8th NBA season. I think he's ready to break out. So I think he helps. I think they beat Brooklyn, and I think Philadelphia comes out of the East. So I'm rooting for Tobias and the Sixers to come out of the East. And in the Western Conference, how do you not love that Phoenix story? I don't know if it'll happen. I don't know if we can get Philly and Phoenix. I don't know if that's going to happen. People want to see the Lakers, and you want to see, it's incredible what Utah did. Denver would be great too. I'd love to see that with Nikola Jokic. I just love the way that guy plays. But to me, we love Monty Williams. So again, it's another magic connection, and he's just a quality individual, and he's turned that thing around so much. And how great would it be to see Chris Paul finally make his first NBA Finals, and to see Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid get to the NBA Finals. So that's what I'm pulling for. I'd love to see Philly beat Phoenix in the NBA Finals. That's what I'm pulling for.
Mikey, you were Philly as well, weren't you? Were you taking Philly, if memory serves me right?
It was, yeah. I was flip-flopping last week, wasn't I?
Just a bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah, no, I'm gonna go on, tell the
You got to tell Dante.
I was going to say, although I was the one that got told, can we have a timer on this? Because I just could not decide in the East. I couldn't decide in the East. I ended up going New York for Alfred.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, for Alfred.
Mikey said, Philly. Oh no, Dwight's there. And then 2 seconds later, he's like, oh no, but they got Tobias. I'll go Philly.
Yeah, that's it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they got
the Dwight thing makes it. I do forget about that. I do forget about that part.
and they got cousin Gary now as well. So
yeah, cousin Gary.
Yeah, that's right. Your cousin Gary.
Well, as cousin Dwayne hasn't made it. Hey, there we go. Okay. And G, you're still rooting for the Lakers, is that right?
Absolutely not. I'll be rooting for the Warriors today, and then either the Grizzlies or the Spurs tomorrow, or whatever it is, whenever they play. No, I'm prediction-wise, I think it will be Brooklyn out of the East and Phoenix out of the West. But if you were to ask me which teams I'd like to win at each conference, I'd go for the Hornets for the East. Borrego, Biombo. There's, I like how they play. And my mate Lewis works for the Hornets, so I've got to say that. And in the West, I'd like Damian Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers to come out, but I think the West is too stacked, to be honest with you. I'd like to see the Suns get through, but as you mentioned earlier, I'd like the Lakers to go out in the play-in. Yeah, that's me.
No, so you I remember that. You have a lot. You're not a big Laker fan. I remember that. That's great.
The absolute opposite is G to a big Lakers fan.
Yeah.
Anytime he can throw shade
Any-
at them, he is there.
He's
Anytime.
doing it. So you'll be watching that tomorrow night. You'll be
Oh, yeah.
you'll stay up and you'll watch and you'll root
Yeah,
for
I'll
Golden
watch
State.
that.
Okay,
Don't know about staying up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm going to say I should watch it in the morning.
You might see it in the morning. You might see it in the morning.
If as
That's
far as I'm concerned, if out of the West, I love watching Steph Curry. So
Yeah.
anytime I can get to watch Steph Curry, so I'll probably be going the Warriors. But equally, I love watching Dame Lillard as well. So I won't be upset either way if it's one of those two. But who are you going for winning the East then? Who do you think is going to win the East, Dante?
Well, I think it's going to be Philly. I think Philly's coming out of the East. Yeah, I think they're going to get
And
there.
who do you think wins the West?
And in the Western Conference, I think it'll be. I definitely think Philly, and I think it's tough to say. I think the Lakers are coming out of the West. I don't know. I just in there. Sorry, Geraint. It's just in my. Yeah. It's just in there.
It's all good.
To me, you're the champs until someone beats you, and I just feel like LeBron got a ton of rest. Anthony Davis got a ton of rest, and they're just going to pour it on, and they're going to be the same old thing that we watched last year. I really think they're now. It doesn't mean someone can't beat them. Clippers might beat them.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think Utah's ready. Phoenix maybe could be, but doesn't it feel like it? You just wouldn't be shocked if a couple months from now the Lakers are winning it again.
I was asked on a podcast about probably about 4 weeks ago who I thought was going to win, who I thought was going to take the chip. And at that point, even though the Lakers were without LeBron, without Anthony Davis, my words were, I find it difficult to see past them. And even though they're in the play-in, even though they're in this play-in, I still find it very difficult.
So if they get in, nobody has ever won an NBA Finals that's been seeded 7th or higher. It's never happened.
Yeah.
It would be history. It would be historic. Yeah. So it's not, the odds are not in their favor, but it just feels like it. Just feels like it. As long as LeBron James is playing, it feels like they can win.
For me, out of the East, I think it's going to be. I'm going to join you all with saying Philly. I think out of the East, and out of the West, I think it's the Lakers, and I'm taking the Lakers for the final.
All right, I know, I'm with you.
I don't like saying it. I'm embarrassed to say it.
I know.
But hey, I've got to give my opinion.
So can we all agree? So can Brooklyn be beat? Can somebody beat Brooklyn in the Eastern Conference?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think so. No.
It's hard. No, there's a lot of talent there.
Yeah.
Philly.
I tell you what, I would like in the East though. I would love a Brooklyn New York series. I really would. That would be amazing. So fingers crossed we get that at some point. Who am I going?
Who are you taking as
Brooklyn?
Yeah. So you're taking Brooklyn as raising a banner at the end of the season.
Yeah, beat the Suns
as being
in the final.
World champions.
Don't say that.
Dante, it winds us up. The one thing that winds us up about American sport is that you win a national championship and call yourselves a world champion.
Yes.
I mean, the only one that I suppose basketball can actually claim that there is international competition with obviously, but hey, it's the Tampa Bay Raptors now, isn't it, G?
Yeah.
No, they've gone back to Toronto. It's okay.
That world champ, that never set well with me either. You can't. That's like my dad's big. Ever since I was a kid, he said, "Now you can't be the world champions. You haven't played it's one country. No. You haven't played two now with Canada." But no, I agree. But they will say that, won't they? They will say.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Mikey, who are you taking as overall winners?
Coming out of the East, there's two teams. There's Philly or Brooklyn. I don't trust Milwaukee. They've made some nice additions with Drew Holiday, Teague, Magic Legend, and PJ. Miami could be somewhat of a surprise again. I think fatigue might get to them, having gone to the finals in the bubble. Out of the West, I think Utah are legit. And I think the Clippers are quietly going about business as well. I think it's either those two or the Lakers. I think Phoenix, it might be. I don't think they've got the front court depth there to deal with a Utah or the Lakers. Portland, Denver, they haven't got enough for me. So I'm gonna have to go the Lakers. Kills me.
Right? I'm telling you, there's something in there.
You can't look by it, can you?
The back
you
of your
ignore
head,
them.
say, as hard as it is.
If you look at the run, they've got Golden State in the playing game, then they end up with Phoenix. So you think that experience is could be a key factor against the Suns.
Go Suns.
Then they've got Denver. Yeah.
I'm going to be thinking about you with every game. Every Laker game.
Gee.
Anyone but them.
And then Denver. Do you know what I mean? And then Denver haven't got Murray. Portland, outside of McCollum and Lillard, probably don't have enough. And then it's really the Clippers or the Jazz in the conference finals. I think it's Philly and the Lakers. I'm going to go Philly. There you go. I'm going to go Philly to win it all.
Nice.
Okay. Nice.
I like that.
Nice.
I like that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
Just to cheer G up. There you go, mate.
Good man. Good man.
Well, it's like you look at it. They have got experience. They have got game-winning experience on that team,
and they've got a head coach that's gone all the way. Doc Rivers has won it all. Got Dwight Howard, Danny Green have been key role players in the Lakers that won it last year.
You can't ignore experience.
No, that's right. And they've got depth and they've got shooting. We saw it the last 2 games of the season. Yeah. They rolled out guys we never heard of. They were knocking down threes like crazy. I mean, it's amazing what they do. Does it give you guys, I don't want to say hope because I think there's a lot of reasons to have optimism for Magic fans, but does it, if you're a team that's not in the playoffs right now and you look at what the Knicks did, can you not look at that model now and be optimistic and think, hey, you don't have to have the trio. You don't have to have the trio. You don't have to have the 3 stars. You don't have to have all that. It can be one guy that really takes off and then everyone else just fits. I think that to me should be a very encouraging model for a lot of NBA teams.
Did you see the graphic on Twitter today? Sorry, G. And they had Philly, Milwaukee. I can't remember what the other 2 now, Brooklyn, and there was one other team, and the Knicks were in the bottom 4 of the East 4 or 5 years ago. Now that they're top 4 in the East. So
very good point. Yep, that's right.
To look forward to.
Yeah, I'm just going to add to Dante's point there. They haven't got a star player other than Randall, but they all buy into the defense, the scheme that Thibodeau, tries to teach them. And Clifford's exactly like Thibodeau. So hopefully, we get a training camp under our belts and that the guys all buy in, get an injury-free season, and the defense ramps up and, defense leads to offense, as you see. And, let these guys run and see what they can do.
Yeah. I've got to ask one question. Would anybody feel different about Denver if Jamal Murray was still fit and playing?
It's a good question. Yeah, right. Wouldn't you think they'd be right there in the mix?
Yeah.
Sure.
You look at what they did in the playoffs last season, and they've added quite well in the team, and I would have been interested to see how far they could actually push that.
Because now you're asking Michael Porter to be your second best player, right away, where he didn't now, and now they'll game plan for him in a 7-game series. He's never gone through this in this role. He's been the 3rd, 4th, 5th option. Now he's the second guy. And, and Aaron's never been keyed in on like this before. So those 2 guys are going to have to get to another level that they're not used to being in. And I think with Jamal Murray, and you just don't have that lights out shot maker. So I think without him being in the mix, I think that changes things drastically. But yes, they would have as good a chance as anybody, in my opinion. Sure.
Yeah. Well, this has been amazing. Dante, I can only say thank you on behalf of the guys here. It's been brilliant to have you on.
Well, it's my pleasure. You guys are the best. You guys, it's what makes us so much fun, man. I love it. The season's over, but we recap it. We discuss what we like and what needs to happen moving forward. And now we pray for health and we pray for 1st and 5th pick in the upcoming draft. See what happens.
Be honest, my friend, as that final buzzer went against Philadelphia, were your thoughts 1-2 Cancun?
Yes, a little bit. 1-2 June 22nd. That's what I thought. 1-2 June 22nd. Yeah, but you're right. It was a grind. It was a grind for us in a different capacity. And that's not even remotely compared to what those players and coaches had to go through this year. It's unbelievable. Absolutely. Getting tested 2 times a day and the travel and this and that, and then the injury. Just unbelievable. Not knowing day to day who you're going to have. So it was a lot. But at the end of the day, you know, and you guys, you love watching it, and we love work, and we love being a part of it. It's what we do, and we love it. And even though you'd like for them to have had a better season, it doesn't change how much fun we had, you know, trying to cover the Magic and try to bring out the telecast every night. So thank you guys for the support. I love interacting with you guys. You do a great job. And I think you should be commended for what you've done here and this thing that you're building. I think it's outstanding. And I can't wait to see you guys face to face here at some point soon. But pints on the 22nd.
Absolutely.
We're doing
22nd. It's going to be done. It's going to be done.
Okay.
It won't be orange squash in the cup.
All right. Let me know. We'll be ready. All right, guys. Take care. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dante.
Thank you.
You got it. Thank you, guys.
How good was that?
Brilliant.
That was sweet.
Absolutely brilliant. Two quality guests.
Absolutely love the company. Dante is always a great company. I love it when you're at games and he just sort of wanders over to find you, and you get this tap on the shoulder and that smile. He's just always great to see. Love the guy. That's been really good. So, Magic Moments.
Yeah, so the Magic Moments has finished, and I will be totaling up the final scores tonight after we record. So hopefully that'll be updated on the website overnight now. So we'll have our final winner. We'll also be able to find out who's won out of the three of us. So we might have another wooden spoon for somebody.
I'm going to say, we know it's not me. I think at the last count I was trailing you by 6 points, G. I think, if memory serves me. And just one behind Oompa Loompa in the corner there.
Yeah, sorry, I need to sit a bit lower now, don't I?
Yeah, so that'll be updated overnight now, and we'll have the results out. We'll crown our winner, and they'll be getting a care package in the post. So we'll be reaching out to them.
Yeah. It's got a couple of T-shirts here waiting to go to whoever the winner is.
Oh yeah,
sounds good. Excellent. So we've not got any set date for the next Penny for Your Thoughts. We are going to be doing them over the summer. We are mulling various thoughts around. We're looking around doing something Zoom wise for both the draft lottery and for draft night. Excuse me. We're talking about having a Penny for Your Thoughts quiz where we get various people in, and we're looking at possibly having a one where we've got multiple guests in to talk about all things Magic as well. Just fire off a few questions around the thoughts on development and what the team need. So that's where we're at, and hopefully we can get one or two guests in as well from stateside. So we'll see what happens there. In the meantime, make sure you keep checking the website, orlandomagicuk.com. Make sure you're following us on all the social platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, again, all under Orlando Magic UK. As we always say, and no apologies, if you are shopping, then please use our affiliate links for either Fanatics or the NBA Store Europe off of our website or off of any of our social media. Quite honestly, it helps us pay for what we do. We do put it all out of our own pocket, so it really helps us. We do appreciate it, and don't be frightened to use the Magic UK 10 discount code at Fanatics and NBA Store Europe. Though some exclusions may apply. Also, if you are thinking of having a league pass for the playoffs, click on our affiliate links again, because quite honestly, again, helps us out. So until next time, go Magic, and thanks for joining us, guys.
And then Nick Anderson was at the free throw line, and he had a very critical free throws to make to try and keep the Magic ahead. And he bricked the first one, and he had 3 shots coming, and he shot the second one and he missed that. And I said to the guy next to me, Nick, would you please make a free throw? Not realizing that my mic was on. And
no, really?
Nick, please make a free throw.
Oh,
and
no.
He and I joke about it to this day. He looked over at me and he shook his head, and he went to the free throw line and missed the third free throw. And but to this day, we still laugh about that.